Hi friends, hope you're doing swell. Hello friends, I hope you're doing swell and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Alexis. I would love it if you stuck around. So today we're on part 3 of our Not So Berry build challenge. Now I've expressed this a few times before, but I just love the essence of Not So Berry, but I cannot get myself to actually do the whole let's play. So this is like a good medium because it helps me also learn how to build, and then we can also kind of go through the challenge as well. But enough rambling, let's go over into build mode so I can show you the house that I built for today. Alrighty, so we're over in Strangerville, and I actually built this house a few times. You'll actually see this. It's pretty much furnished, but I was not satisfied with the way it looked. So I was kind of getting an essence and a feel about how the houses are looking over in Strangerville. Now they're not so much like that shotgun feel that we see over in some of the base game homes that kind of mimic New Orleans. So I was kind of like filling it out, and I still wasn't really satisfied with the layout because it was just a little bit too big. Now we did go smaller on Rose Jen, which I wish I did make that house a little bit bigger, but I kind of in my mind was saying that that was like her starter home because she was a little bit more boy crazy. She wasn't really at home, so usually it was just like Yellow Jen and her nanny kind of taking care of her. But I'm kind of trying to figure out the roofing right now, and I just wasn't satisfied with it, so I'm bulldozing it again. But luckily this is my final time bulldozing because I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. I decided to do like container homes almost, just because it kind of fits that Strangerville vibe as well as get to work. So I'm going to use some platforms as well for the roof, just because I'm trying to do things a little bit differently and learn from the people that I watch that I really love and admire their building. So I'm trying to do stuff a little bit differently with the next upcoming builds. But we're using some eco lifestyle on the exterior, and I feel like this screams Yellow Jen. But speaking of Yellow Jen, like I did in the first 2 parts, let me actually read what this Jen entails, and then also some of the things that we need to include within the house for today. So growing up, you never had a close relationship with your parents and spent the majority of your time alone in your room obsessing over space. You just really love space. You'll do whatever it takes to get to Sixum no matter what. So the traits for Yellow Jen is clumsy, ambitious, and loner. They have the nerd brain aspiration, and their career as an astronaut. So I'll have the actual link down below of the actual gameplay requirements if you are playing Not So Berry. But for my trusty build challenge, I have to have the colors yellow and gold, which we have plenty of that, especially with eco lifestyle. I have to include a spaceship, a telescope, and a woodworking station. And then the style is cosmolux, so very like alien and futuristic, which you'll see a lot of that in today's build. But right now I'm thinking also, since we already use some of that eco lifestyle, we're going to use some of those solar panels as well, because I feel like our sim will live a little bit off the grid. They would source their own water and their own power. They'll use wind turbines and everything along those lines. So a lot of that stuff is incorporated within today's build, and now I'm just kind of perfecting it. I wanted to build like a rooftop. I've seen people do it where they click it, but for some reason I can't get that down. So I'm just putting a platform on top just to give our sim a little bit more covering, because I imagine for Strangerville to be like boiling hot. Now I live in Tennessee, so I live in the South, and we have such humid summers. It's like unbearable. Like right now, like yesterday, it was like kind of cold, cool. I did a little gardening over the weekend, but now it's like almost 90 degrees. It's just flip-flops non-stop. So that's why a lot of people have like terrible allergies down here and we get sick. That was Bo in the background. But anywho, so I did do a metal roof on this, but it is a solar panel metal roof, so she will get power and stuff from that. So now I'm just kind of perfecting the exterior. I want to kind of find the vibe and fit that I think that fits the best with our Yellow Jen, and I think I kind of got the exterior how I wanted it. So similar to the first build that I actually did, I want to have like a place in the backyard for our sim to do their creativity. So to do woodworking, to do like funky plants, which we use quite a bit of Jungle Adventure because they just have some of those beautiful plants that kind of look like Sixum. And then also for our sim to have their telescope. I am a little nervous to use a telescope in some of my like let's plays I do by myself, because if your sim stares at it for too long, there's a meteor that can actually come down and strike them, and I get so attached to my sims. I'm just like, I don't want them kind of die. So I don't really use a telescope, but like in the last video, I said that I am going to be trying the Nightmare Legacy Challenge. It's basically like a 10 generation legacy challenge, but you're playing it on short lifespan. And with my attention span and how quickly I like play something and I'm like, I don't really want to play this anymore, I could kind of bore quickly. I think that the Nightmare Legacy would be so much fun, especially since I love watching people's like legacy challenges. If you do a legacy challenge, if you have any suggestions of a good legacy challenge, please let me know down below, because it's my favorite thing to watch, especially during like this Lenten season. I've been trying to steer away from my serial podcast, my rap music. I'm trying to fill my time, especially like at work when I'm in the office, to have something on in the background because it's usually pretty quiet. Let me know about your legacy build challenge. But anywho, going back into the build, I'm adding some get to work things, and then I'm also doing a little bit more of a tamer landscape. I don't know if you saw it too much in the first build when I first introed this, but that had so much overgrown landscape. It just wasn't neat, and I feel like this sim is very particular, kind of like me. Very particular. They like things in order and they liked it to be a certain way, so I want to make sure that her landscaping as well kind of fit that vibe. Now going inside really quickly, which I really love this layout, and I'm glad that you guys are also really enjoying it as well. It allows me to be a little bit more creative, take my time with my builds, and kind of figure out how I want each thing to kind of replicate and put my best foot forward with everything that I do upload on my cozy channel. So I like this layout because I kind of go from outside to inside, just how my brain flows. So right now we're indoors, and I feel like this warm yellow flooring is perfect for our yellow gen. Also gave them 2 bathrooms and 1 big bedroom. Their ensuite bathroom is a little bit more skinnier, but I feel like they are just kind of hunkered down at their desk, finding aliens, trying to get to six them, and doing all those things to kind of help them in their career. I imagine they are also trying to not only have that nerd brain aspiration astronaut, but I feel like a side quest of the yellow gen is actually defeating the mother planet. So I want to make sure I had a lot of that get to work over in this house as well. But going back to the exterior, I'm adding some of those water tables, a recycling machine, as well as a big old dumpster. So your sim has plenty of things to do to earn money, and also to live off the grid a little bit, and also just be a better steward of their environment, because I feel like this sim is also very like eco-friendly as well. That's why I said I feel like they would fit really good in Evergreen Harbor, but maybe they can date Knox from Evergreen Harbor, and that can actually be the baby daddy for Gen 2. Well, for the Gen 4 gray generation. So that's an idea that we can kind of develop into the next build. But like I said, I did add some of those plants over from Jungle Adventure because they just look so funky and crazy. And I don't really pull things off the gallery. Maybe like in the next couple builds, I actually do that with like plants and stuff, because I really want to build like an orchard and a vineyard. And I can get some of those plants and stuff off of the gallery. But I'm just using what I have in the game because I like to play it pretty vanilla, because it's just easier. I don't have to go in and update mods and all that different stuff. It's just more fun for me this way. But going back indoors, now we're going to determine like how we want it to lay out, because we have to use that gold and yellow essence. I'm also using some blue since our sim was really close to their grandma, which was first gen, the mint generation. But also I wanted to make sure we had that cosmolux. Now the cosmolux didn't have a ton of things over in that category, so I kind of just looked on Pinterest to find like what's the cosmolux like aesthetic, and then I kind of looked into the build catalog and saw what kind of fit the best for the packs that I do have. So I'm using some of this base game because it screams retro to me. I feel like it is so perfect, as well as these bar stools. So we're going to be using a lot of like that retro type of feel, and then also just adding some little clutter elements as well. So I'm giving them quite a bit of technology because I feel like our sim would have like a very high like woodworking skill. Maybe they have like an alien down the line, which I find to be really, really cute if you do have an alien in your game. And the aliens, well, not aliens, I take that back, actually robots, which came with Discover University. If you have those in your game, they actually talk to like the appliances in the house. So I feel like maybe our sim as well marries an alien, or they marry Knox, or they can marry like a robot because they're very techy and they're very green. So our girl has options. But as you can tell with like the living room, I'm adding some of those elements of blue just to give a hint to our mint generation. And then also I'm trying to find things that kind of fit that cosmolux vibe. So I'm using some of these things from base game that I typically don't really use, which is a really fun thing about doing these challenges, whether it be like the not to berry challenge, the tiny build challenges, just any challenges that I really like to do, because the more chaotic the better in my opinion. I get to use things that I typically don't like gravitate towards. So I'm using a lot of base game in here that I just typically don't like, and I think they fit really well with the vibes and stuff of this house. But I moved the dining room table over and I added a 4-seater top, but then I am going in with some get to work, just because it gives me like that alien vibe. And then I'm also like giving her some mannequins because maybe she like does some seamstress, maybe she's a seamstress on the side and she's like designing astronaut suits and all that different stuff, or just trying to find the correct proportions for aliens when she goes to six them. So I thought that that was funny because I don't really use the mannequins all too much, but maybe with the new pack, businesses and hobbies, I can use it a little bit more. But this is like her little area inside of her house. So I use a ton of get to work. So she has some six-some posters, she has filing cabinets, she has like crime type of like newspaper articles, we have like a library, we have a synthesizer. I just gave her everything that I felt fit that vibe from get to work. And I told you I was over in my divider area, so I'm adding some of those dividers again from City Living. If you didn't see Let's Make Over the Townies part 2, I'll have that down below. But basically I also use these dividers because I think they're so good. They still make you like see the sunlight in the area, they give you a little bit more breeze, but they also divide the area up pretty well too. So now I'm just going through the catalog, trying to figure out what else from get to work I can actually add. Some of these things are just a little humongous. I feel like she would kind of be modest with the things that she does have in her house because she wants to portray herself a certain way, especially since her mom was like a politician. I feel like that's probably why our sim is a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more reserved, and that is why she's a loner. So I feel like if she does ever have people over, she doesn't want to draw like attention to like her fascination with aliens and everything along those lines. So that divider and a little bit of like decor pieces to kind of hint to her like love for sixum, it's a little bit more like toned down with like in the greater areas. But now I'm just going around adding some little clutter bits. I'm adding a laptop from Strangerville, also some books, but we do give her a bookcase as well. And then going over into our guest bathroom, we're using that cosmolux, which is actually some of the stuff we use in Let's Make Over the Townies. I'm really liking some of this base game stuff. I feel like it's fitting the vibes and I can just do something a little bit more creative. I've been looking at so many gorgeous builds on Pinterest, like both Sims builds, but also just like architecture in general, just to kind of help with me like building a little bit better. You guys know that that's like one of my goals. I just want to continue to like improve on my building, and this new layout allows for me to also kind of just like zone out, have an inspiration picture up, and kind of like be in my own element. So I'm really glad that people are enjoying this new like layout. So thank you so much for the feedback as well. But then as I was in the guest room, I was like, hold on, maybe our sim should have a pet as well. So I'm gonna give her a cat. I don't have a cat, I have a dog, my Bo Samson. He's somewhere, I have no clue where he is right now, but I feel like a dog is a little bit more energetic, outgoing. You have to be kind of on all the time, but cats are a little bit more independent. So I gave her a cat since she's like a loner and she like wants to stay in her house. She's very much introverted, she's a cozy home girl. I feel like a cat kind of fits those vibes a little bit more with like our Sim's personality. But going into our bathroom, we're using some similar stuff that was over in the guest bathroom. I'm just adding a growing together shower and tub and giving a little bit more personality with that. And now I'm going through the cosmolux thing again, and a lot of the stuff that came up was actually from high school years, which I was very surprised about. So right now I'm just placing everything because I wanted to get like the style and vibe down, and then I go back in, of course, and actually change the coloring. I had to pause for a brief second because the trash people were outside and Bo was going berserk. But going back to the room, a lot of things from high school years actually fit that cosmolux aesthetic, so I'm super happy about that. And also I really love cottage high school years. I love cottage living too, but high school years, and I'm so excited to play this Nightmare Legacy challenge because I feel like we can also dabble a little bit more into the packs that I just haven't like unraveled. I've seen so many people's like let's plays of it, but I'm really excited that I get to like partake in having like a legacy challenge because I feel like it's just so cozy and I love watching them. But anywho, I'm adding some more personality, adding some things from cats and dogs like a cat tree and also some plants from Blooming Rooms kit, just to kind of do the finishing touches on this house. But I think it turned out so fabulous. I think we actually hit everything on the requirements of having it yellow and gold, also those elements of blue to kind of hint to the mint generation, the spaceship, the telescope, the woodworking station, the cosmolux, the alien futuristic theme of the house. I feel like it fits it to the T, and I'm really happy with the way this house turned out, and I hope you enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, friends. If you did, make sure it's fun things like give it a big old like and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as well as press that bell notification so you're notified each and every time that I post. And until next time, friends, I hope you are doing swell, and I will see you very soon. Bye!